Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rides. I'm in a little park because guess what? We have a little power-packed SUV from Dodge that's all new. What is it? This is a 2023 Dodge Hornet GT. This particular one is the GT Plus. But before we get into this tamale red, that's the name of the color, and turbocharged all-wheel drive SUV, let's talk about what's going on here. Dodge. They're doing a little bit of reinventing themselves because of killing off the Charger and the Challenger as we know it for the end of this model year. They have decided to get into a segment that they believe is really growing, and that's the small size performance style SUVs. Now, believe it or not, they're not the first, and they're definitely not going to be the last. But what they're trying to do is create that special recipe of 13 ingredients, just like Colonel Sanders with KFC, and get that performance SUV that you just can't resist buying. Now, there are some key players. One of them that really, I think, shocked everybody, including this guy right here, is the Hyundai Kona N. So what I want to find out is, should you go all-wheel drive, turbocharged power with this Dodge Hornet, or should you go with the Hyundai Kona N? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, the dimensions. Now, if you're comparing sizes and you got your measuring tape out with you and your friends, guess what? This Hornet is gonna be a little bit larger than the Kona N. At the front of the business, you are getting full LED lighting. So we have our LED headlights, LED turn signals, and daytime running lamps. Very interesting way how they shaped it to look like the Dodge Charger, the current existing Dodge Charger. One zonk I'm gonna have to pull right away are these fake corner vents. Would have been perfect to be corner air curtains or drop some LED lighting, but you know what? On the Kona N, that vehicle also has some fake vents at the front, but you'll notice this has a little bit more curve to it. And that kind of makes sense because it is sitting on the same chassis as the Italian Alfa Romeo Tonale. Now, as we come across the front, you'll see that very aggressive look. You do have your Dodge branding with its badge in the center. Full functionality up top. We do have the mail slot, just like you find on the Charger. The mail slot is not where you put the mail. This is where you're gonna put more air for the radiator, for the intercooler. We do have a forward-facing camera. That's part of the Plus package. And you'll notice on the down portion of the grille, same design as up top and fully functional with a nice front lip spoiler kind of built right into it. Comparing it to the Kona, I think many would say the Kona looks more aggressive at the front end, but this is, like I said, definitely wider. Now, when we get up onto the hood, this is where the Hornet GT really comes into its own. I love the way they have these nice, functional heat extractors, and they match the same design as the front grille. You're gonna get a little bit of a bulge. A lot of Dodge guys and girls, they like that bulge from their muscle cars. Dodge wanted to bring it onto this performance SUV, what they're calling a performance SUV. On the Kona N, you don't really get a bulge. Plus, the roof line on this vehicle is a little bit lower than the Kona N. Now, as we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire setup. Because this one has the track pack, which is an additional option, you're gonna get these Abyss 20-inch wheels. That's the name of the color, Abyss. It's like a dark, metallic, black, kind of smoky gray finish. You'll notice the Brembo calipers, bright red with the Dodge badging on them. We do have a little bit larger rotor, and the suspension has been tuned not only by Dodge, but they are using Kona shocks. So Kona shock absorbers, all four corners, specially tuned for this SUV. Now, of course, this is front-wheel drive based, but it does have all-wheel drive. So when power starts to slip, grip starts to slip, it sends power to the rear wheels. Remember, the Kona N is front-wheel drive. Something to think about. What's interesting though, the Kona N has a limited slip diff. This also has a form of a limited slip diff. So kind of even on that level. One thing I don't like is I wish they would have painted the flat black, especially on a sporty SUV. I feel like this makes it look a little bit more utilitarian. So something that just kind of bothers me a little bit. Let me know how you feel about the flat black around the fender opening. We do have our Hornet badge, and that's something that Dodge does very, very well, are their badges. Let me know how you feel so far about what you're seeing compared to the Kona N. We do have color matched mirror caps, LED turn signals, and with the Plus, the tech pack, we do have 360-degree cameras, and these are power folding mirrors, which is nice. On the bottom portion, you'll notice that side sill extends out very aggressively. And then you have a nice, like I said, lower roof line to give it that sporty style. Just a little bit of gloss black in the center. Everything else is flat black. Working our way towards the rear, I do like the way they flare out the rear fender on this thing. Kind of gives it that nice extra wide stance. And then looking back at what we got going on here, you do have those Michelin Pilot Sport all seasons. It would have been nice to have some 4S's to get a little bit more grip. But like I was saying, this is a 20-inch wheel. All four corners, you're looking at 235 on the width, 30 series sidewall. And I'm gonna have Steven earn his money and show you the top of the shock absorber and spring there for that Kona special tune suspension. Now, when we get to the rear, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I'm not gonna zonk the wiper because every other SUV in this class has this. I just wish they would have extended this roof spoiler a bit. I do like the way they did the LED lighting, just like up front, everything is LED, no Thomas Edison light bulbs. They did a great job with the Hornet name. On this side, we have GT. And then the other thing that's really missing as we go down to Chinatown here is there's no exhaust showing. Let's see a nice finish exhaust tip on both sides and get a little bit of rumble. Remember, Dodge knows 4-cylinder turbocharged performance. You ever heard of an SRT4? Many people would not call it a Neon, but once upon a time when Dodge made a Neon, they made a performance version called the SRT4, which had so much sound and driving engagement, it wasn't funny. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and see what you get for the money. See what I did there? Funny money on this Dodge Hornet GT. Guys, we got that functional hood popped open. Underneath the hood, you'll have some turbocharged power, very interesting engine setup, how they actually have the engine mounted in the frame of the vehicle. But what's interesting is that there are some comparisons between this and the Kona N. Let's talk about the Hornet GT that we have. It's a 2-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine, putting out 268 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. It is mated to a 9-speed automatic transmission. That engine is called the Hurricane. We got all-wheel drive, which is going to give us 0 to 60 in about 6.5 seconds. Top speed, 128 miles per hour. The vehicle weighs 3,750 pounds. And if you're looking at MPGs, 21 in the city, 29 on the highway. Now, the Kona N also has a 2-liter inline-4 turbocharged engine. With that N-Grin shift mode, it's 286 horsepower, 289 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, top speed 149 miles per hour. So if you're looking for the fastest of the smaller SUVs at this price point, obviously the Kona N is hands down the winner. But there's other things to the ownership experience of this Hornet that you might like more than the Kona N. But while we go ahead, let's fire up this Hurricane and hear what it sounds like. We're inside this 2023 Dodge Hornet GT Plus. What does the Plus mean? That means we have the tech pack and we have the track pack. Plus we got a few other goodies. Now I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I kind of like the Kona N, but there's some things with it that just kind of turn me off with the style and especially the interior pieces. But I'm curious about this GT Plus. How much is it? So I hope you're sitting down because this one's a doozy. This one MSRP's at $41,000. About $3,000 to $5,000 more than a Kona N MSRP to MSRP, but let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels, I do like how they styled it compared to the Kona N. You do have soft touch material up top, a little bit of gunmetal gray finish, some nice bright silver on the door handle, and then this does have the optional Harman Kardon sound system with that attractive speaker grille cover. You do have a little bit of red stitching and soft leather-like material on the armrest. Door pocket is a little tight, so maybe 5 Pop-Tarts and a bottle of milk to wash it down. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, I do like the stitching. This looks really clean. They did a great job on the AC vents, and you have more soft material. This is where the materials is where it beats the Kona N. Now, when it comes to infotainment side of things, once again, we're getting some nice technology. You're getting the new Uconnect 5. This is a 10.25-inch screen. Obviously, navigation, wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. Throw it into reverse. There's our backup camera. It could be a little clearer, but you know what? Not too bad. And of course, this is a full touchscreen. Cameras out the front, cameras out the back. You definitely don't have that. The only other camera that you would have besides a backup camera on a Kona N is the camera on your phone. That's about it. Hanging out the window, and then you'll have a 360 cam. What's interesting, following the whole Dodge Mopar thing, you hit vehicle, we do have performance pages, you have your technical gauges, and Steven's favorite, the accessory gauges, or the auxiliary gauges. You could call them both, but you have oil temp, transmission temp, and that 12 volt. Of course, when it comes to the AC, you do have heated seats, and your dual climate, and a heated steering wheel, no ventilated seats. So something to think about at this price point. Working your way down, nice toggle switches for your AC control, real physical switches. You do have your start-stop button. I hate the way that they did the automatic start-stop on-off. It's a little redundant. They could have put this button somewhere else. Doesn't need to be right here, so I am gonna zonk that, but you do have a 12-volt, USB-C, USB-A, wireless charging. This leather-stitched shift knob here is gonna be for the 9-speed automatic. You get a nice little finger barrel that you roll here, sort of like those little root beer barrel candies that they have at the grocery store. I like the way it's flat black, not a lot of gloss black, some more of that gunmetal gray. 2 cup holders, same old Dodge key fob since Noah had his ARC, but you know what? It does have remote start, and that's the button that you wanna hit if a Kona N is passing you. Got the 2 cup holders, nice high armrest with that leather material and the stitching. Open it up. I tell you, it's surprising. You could put a 1-pound bag of Twizzlers in there, the family size, just stand it up. And what I would do is just leave it open, and then you could just be like grabbing your Twizzlers while you're driving your Hornet, your tamale red. They should have called this Twizzler red. That could have been a big marketing thing where you got a free bag of Twizzlers and the Twizzler red Dodge Hornet. Seats, I'm digging them. Love the way they did the embroidery, the stitching. Cool the way the red kind of shines through and shows through on the Alcantara microfiber suede material. It's real Alcantara, the company. They went in and got the good stuff. You do have your power seat controls. Nice bolstering. Pretty good for a sporty SUV. Now this one does come with a sunroof, but because it is a pre-production, they weren't able to get that one in, but it does come with a sunroof, so don't zonk that. I'm not zonking it. I don't want to see you zonk it. But what I want to see you do is get your butt over here because I want to show you behind the digital gauge cluster in this Dodge Hornet GT. All right, guys, business time. You got not 1, not 2, but 3 memory seat settings on this Hornet GT. And down below, they give you a nice attractive Hornet badge on the sill to let you know every time you come in and out what car you bought. Pedal box, it's decent. And please excuse the dirt. Steven got this all dirty when he was setting up the camera, but we do have an aluminum brake pedal with some dirt that Steven brought in, and throttle. I just wish they would give me some aluminum on the dead pedal. Because you see how with Steven's foot getting the dirt on the rug, it just looks like garbage now. So it would have been nice to have a nice solid dead pedal. You do have the seat controls, the power seat controls down below. And like I said, being larger, a little bit larger than the Kona N, a lot more space in here. Especially headroom, and don't worry, even with the sunroof, you do have plenty of room, so don't worry about that. Steering wheel. I'm kind of digging it for the most part. It's flat bottom. I know a lot of people like flat bottom things. Here's your flat bottom steering wheel. You do have the sport button. You can't miss it. It's like if you can't hit this while you're driving, you might want to turn over your driver's license. Flat black on all the other buttons. I like the way they did a little fancy dancy with the two-piece leather. That's the Italian influence. No paddles behind the wheel, and you do have a manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then the dash. This really does it well for this Hornet GT. 12.3 inch. I like the way when you go into sport mode and you hit that sport mode button, there it is on the gauge cluster, ready to rock and roll. And you got your navigation in the center, but you could scroll. Look at this G meter, that's not a target. You're not doing some James Bond stuff. Lane keep assist if you want to watch that all day. And then you could scroll, speedometer. I like having the navigation. It's easy to just keep your eyes forward because there is no head-up display on this vehicle. But let's get in the back seat and see how your passengers are going to feel that you went Mopar or no car, or actually Mopar or no SUV with your Hornet GT. Guys, we're inside this Hornet GT. Like I was saying, being a little larger, you can see I got plenty of headroom. It's a little different in the Kona N, especially for the backseat passengers. You have that Alcantara. Remember, Alcantara is not that guy, Mr. Cantara, that lives down the street from you. Alcantara is actually the name of the company that makes the fabric, makes the material, sort of like Q-tip. They're cotton swabs. This is microfiber suede material, but the company's called Alcantara. See what I did there? You do have large pockets to where easily you could put, I would say, 7 packages, those big like 500 count packages of Q-tips. And here's a little safety tip for you. Don't use a Q-tip to clean out deep within your ear. That's a big no-no. You could actually push whatever's in your ear down deep further into your ear canal. What you want to do is get a little dropper with some peroxide, do the drops, and it'll actually sound like Rice Krispies in your ears as it breaks down the wax. And then you just use a little tissue to wipe it out. I'm trying to save you from lots of pain. That's what I'm here for. Talk about pain or no gain. You do have AC vents, so you're going to be nice and cool or nice and warm, depending on the type of day it is, where you live. USB-C, USB-A. I have my own pocket here because I like to make sure that I keep some old school tech with me, an abacus. Sometimes if somebody is trying to rip me off and they show me on their phone what the price is, I get the abacus out and I just doop, 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 doop. And I'm like, look, you thief. Seats feel good. Pull this down. Pretty soft. 2 cup holders. Why don't we go ahead, let's get to the back seat. This is the back seat. Trust me, this ain't a third row, but sometimes I'm surprised if they did that. Let's get in the cargo area and see how much we could haul if it's more than the Kona N in this Hornet GT. Guys, cargo time. Now, one thing that this has that the Kona N doesn't when it comes to cargo is going to be that nice electric assist on the lift. And one thing I'm going to zonk is how high the rear loading area is. It's very high off the ground, so something to think about. Now, on the Kona N, you're only going to have 19 cubic feet of space. On this Dodge Hornet GT, guess what? It lays the smack down on the Kona N. 27 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold the seats down, you got 55 cubic feet of space. There is a 12 volt, and of course you can see the very clever pass-through. Let me pull this up. No spare, no spare. All you have is an electric air compressor and a can of flat fix. But you do have a lot of storage area for tons of Twinkies. I could easily put, I think Steven told me he got 287 and a half Twinkies under this cargo area. So good job, Steven. It's about that time. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's put the rubber out on the road and see what on throttle feels like in this Hornet GT. All right, guys, we are in this 2023 Dodge Hornet GT. Now, I know some of you may not love this camera view, and that's okay because we have 2 other reviews on the channel. One of a blue GT, doesn't have all the niceties that this one has, and also the top dog, the RT. So I'll leave the links to those at the end of this review, but I wanted to give you kind of this perspective to really show out the layout of the interior. That's something that is very well done in here. I like the short reach to the infotainment system screen, especially with it being a full touchscreen. We do still have those physical switches and knobs, which are nice. And then of course, just the overall space compared to the Kona N. Now, if it was my money, I would go buy the Kona N. That's just me. And I don't really love the Kona N. I'd rather have an Elantra N, but that's what we're comparing here, those two things. You might even want to consider a Honda Civic Sport or Sport Touring hatch. I mean, you could get the top Touring trim and still be really clear of the price of this particular one. And for the hatch, it has a lot of cargo room. It really, really does. But the new digital gauge cluster looks spectacular. Visibility in here is great. Even with the back window, I thought the back window would be a little tight just because of how sleek it is, but it's great. And also having all the safety features, the blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist, and of course, emergency brake assist. Now, one thing I'm noticing is that it's a little coarse in here. And what I mean by that is just the way that the transmission and the engine behave with one another, just a little rough. Not the smoothest interactions. What's surprising though is that when you go on throttle, she does got a little kick and gets up and goes, but the numbers don't lie. If you're racing a Kona N, don't race for pink slips, maybe race for like $1 or something, because you're gonna lose in this vehicle. Unless maybe you're in the snow or it's pouring rain, because we have all-wheel drive in this vehicle. But the seats, very, very supportive. I just wish that at this price point, you could get ventilated seats in these performance-oriented seats. That would make me a little bit happier, but still, you're getting a nice sporty handling. Now, there does come one little deficit to that, and that's gonna be a little harsh of a ride. But like I said, compared to the Kona N can also get a little harsh as well, depending on what mode you're in. So something to think about, but visibility, like I said, is great. We need to get to some twisty bits so I can show you how this all-wheel drive handles. All right, guys, I have found some twisty bits, and we're gonna be able to see how this thing handles. And when I say thing, we're talking about the Hornet GT, of course. So I'm gonna come to a stop. Nobody is behind us. I'm gonna just leave it in drive, and then on the way back, we'll use the shifter to manually shift. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Sport mode, on throttle, here we go. It actually feels quicker than what the numbers say. On the brakes, those Brembos. It does have very crisp steering, and the Kona shocks do a pretty darn good job when it comes to the handling. So it's not like the ultimate corner carver by any means, but it actually will surprise you in a very good way. And as you saw, it was all grip, no slip. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the shifter, you pull it over to the driver's side, and now you can go up and down the gears, the 9-speed automatic with the shifter, because there are no paddles. And that to me is a little bit of a bummer. But you do have a little tiny gear indicator, real small by the tack. And if you're ready, I'm ready. First gear, on throttle, here we go. Like the way the tack turns red when you get into that red line area. On the brakes. I'm telling you, it really, really does a pretty good job, especially on the tighter stuff. Very composed, really. I mean, it's gonna surprise you how they sport tune the suspension. But even with front wheel drive, the Kona N is really the way to go. All right, guys, once again, first gear, on throttle. On those Brembos, look at this, here we go. Yeah! That's where you can have a little bit of fun. I think that's what I like about this vehicle, is that she likes to be thrown around a little bit in the twisty bits. And it's not, like I said, something that is gonna be up there with the real performance SUVs, but it's another option. But like I said, I still think Kona N is where it's at for me, even with the front wheel drive. But let's do this one more time. Can't have enough of twisties, that's for sure. Second gear. On throttle, here we go. On those brakes. Here's where it gets good. You got decreasing radius. One thing that bothered me is I wanted to be in second. You saw me, and I think that's the nice thing about this angle. You saw me hit that shifter in the down position to make it go down from third to second, and it did not. So I feel like coming out of that corner, we would have had a lot more oomph than what we did that last turn there, that left-hander, simply by having it one gear lower. And that's the, that's the tall tale sign of this not being a true performance SUV. But I got to take you for a little ride, give you a little bit different angle. We're gonna get back to where it all started and wrap this one up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been a fun day. It's been a hot day here in sunny Tampa, but you know what? I definitely want to thank all the people at Dodge for letting us have access once again to this press fleet vehicle and really get down and dirty with it here in this dirt parking lot. But let me know what you think. Has Dodge got that recipe right? Or are you gonna go with the Hyundai Kona N, especially for the money? Why don't you tell me how you feel about that in the comment section? But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Rady's Rides family. Of course, we need to give it up to Stephen Flood, Stephen Flood Photography. He's out here in the sun. He's got his big hat on. He is styling and profiling. So show him some love in the comment section. Thank you, Stephen, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.